Hello, my amazing students. This is Mrs. A, and I am back with your very last video in statistics. I have put 10.1 and 10.2 in one PowerPoint and one video, and this is it. So we are down for the last count here, and we are going to be done. So I wanted to explain a little bit about the homework. So on chapter 10.1 and 10.2, you will have one homework lesson, and on that homework, it's going to be a little bit frustrating if you don't do it correctly, because there is a lot of 10.1 and 10.2 that we are cutting out. You are responsible for learning how to make scatter plots. You are responsible for finding the correlation coefficient. You are not responsible for doing any of the hypothesis testing. You're not going to need to do anything in regards to figuring out if you can make a regression line. You must know how to make a regression line. And then you must be able to use that regression line to predict future values of the variable. Okay, so as we go through this material, those are the four things you need to do. Make a scatter plot, find a correlation coefficient, find a regression line, use the regression line to make predictions. That's it. Now, in order to be able to put your homework online, which right now, that's the only option we had. I could not do anything like book homework. So what I decided to do was go ahead and make one assignment that includes both 10.1 and 10.2 problems. At the beginning of the assignment, in a little note, I tell you that you're not going to get 100 on the assignment. You're only to do the parts that you're responsible for. If you decide to do the rest of it, that's all okay. I mean, how to do it is in your book. But I'm going to bump your homework up. So once I go through and I say, okay, if they did everything that they were supposed to do, then they would have gotten I'm making this up, a 70. Then I'm going to bump you up the other 30 points. Okay, so whatever it is that you get, if you get all of the required portions correct, that's fine. I'm going to bump the rest of it up. Also, the 10.1 and 10.2, just because it is not ideally made, I'm going to make this a assignment that bumps up your grade. In other words, if you didn't do it, it would not count against you. But since I want you to do it, and I will bump it up, it's going to count as a replacement homework or an additional homework grade to bump up your homework grade. I highly suggest that you do this homework. There are 3 problems that we have to do from chapter 10 that will be on your final exam. Okay, because remember, the final exam has chapter 10 on it. So there will be at least 3 problems from chapter 10 on your final exam. I am not putting a lot of problems on your final exam. It may be that I decide to make a 25 problem final exam, and if I made 25 problems and there were 10 chapters, then you could expect 2 or 3 problems from each chapter, and so that would be a lot. 3 problems would be a lot if I only put 25 to 30 problems on the final exam, which is what I'm planning on. There should not be more than 30, so somewhere between 25 and 30 problems on the final exam. So you don't want to lose credit for the 3 problems that are from chapter 10. So what I want you to do is make sure that you understand the material, that you do know how to go completely through those 4 things I told you you are responsible for. And don't let the fact that you don't make 100 on the homework discourage you. Go ahead and do your very best, and then I will kick it up when I find out what the maximum is that you would get if you just did the parts I told you to do. So in other words, on the homework, there's like A, B, C, D, E, F parts. There was no way for me to find you problems that only had the parts that I wanted you to do. So basically, I assigned you, I think there's about 8 problems on the whole assignment. That's 10.1 and 10.2. I think there were 8. It's not a lot of homework, but just don't sweat it that you can't get all of it right. I put in the little note at the bottom, just assume that the regression line can be found, because I only picked problems that had a regression line that could be found. So you don't have to worry about that. I did that for you. And I think if you just kind of go with it, realize this is an extra credit assignment and that I'm going to bump it up the remainder of the big thing is that you learn those 4 things and you demonstrate those 4 things. Don't worry about the rest of it. So here we go with chapter 10.1 and 10.2 put all together in one video and one PowerPoint. And so this is the last time you get to see my lovely mug on the video, because this is the last section.